Welcome to Mystery Date. This show was created first and foremost for entertainment purposes. While we do our best to research our topics, nothing discussed on this show should be taken as absolute fact. Opinions, theories, and interpretations are just that. Listener judgment is encouraged.
In rural western New York, down a quiet road surrounded by fields and forest, sits an ordinary white farmhouse. But in 1971, the family who moved into that house claimed they weren't alone. The Dandy family reported footsteps in empty hallways, shadow figures standing in bedroom doorways, and scratches appearing on their skin without explanation. Then came the thing that Clara Dandy said terrified her most, a tall black figure that stood at the top of the stairs, watching. The case eventually caught the attention of famous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, who believed the family might be dealing with something far darker than a typical haunting. Today, the Hinsdale house still stands, and the question remains, what was really inside?
I'm Christian.
I'm Kate.
Welcome to Mystery Date. It's date night, meaning we get to talk about all things mysterious and weird.
This season is called A Haunting, and it deals with mysteries surrounding all things paranormal and ghostly in our world.
Tonight's episode is all about the Hinsdale House Haunting.
Sit back, grab your favorite drink, and let's start the show.
Ooh, I made that one a little strong.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Mine's good.
Good. I took that was the first time I tried it. I didn't even try it while I was mixing it. So I was just like, ooh, that's whiskey. That's cheap whiskey too, because it's meant to be mixed.
Yeah, I can't taste my vodka. I just taste my juice. And that's the way I like it.
Good. Well, I'm happy yours is good. I mean, it's something. It'll get me a little saucy.
I mean, you drink whiskey straight, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but that's like good whiskey. Again, this was meant for like mixing. So, have you ever heard of this case at all? The Hinsdale House Haunting?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Not at all.
Good. Going blind just like hopefully anyone else who found this episode.
I know nothing.
I'm not going to lie. There was a brief moment where I did not do this episode just because I was like, I feel like we have a lot of just haunted houses, right? Like, I feel like we're just doing that a lot. But this one's a little different because out of all like the big haunted houses that we've covered, this one is actually within reach of us being able to go investigate. So I figured it does deserve a full episode, not just a brief history, kind of like the Madison Seminary where we gave the history and then did our investigation in one. This house does have a lot of history and deserves an investigation. So I did want to do this part of the house. So in the future, you might see us actually visiting the Hinsdale house and, well, that'll be fun.
I mean, yeah, hopefully. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours away from us. It's really not far.
Oh, heck yeah. It's like barely in New York.
Yes. But yeah, this one is very much within reach of us investigating. And like I said, it's 2 hours and 51 minutes away. I looked, it's like $300 for the night. And we'll put a link down in the description for the episode too if you want to check out the house or go and visit it.
I mean,
because
yeah,
why
go
not?
do your own paranormal investigation.
Yeah, I mean, again, $300 for the night. That's not bad at all.
Cheaper than an average hotel stay, really.
I mean, yeah, if you're in New York, just go ahead and stay in that haunted house. Hey, it was the cheapest.
Yeah, as long as it's open for the night. Like, if you book ahead of time, really good deal.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I don't care that it's haunted. I don't want the tour. I have business.
Yeah, I just like
Tomorrow.
needed an Airbnb, and those ones are all so expensive.
This was just easy.
Yeah, it's right here.
So, right before we get into it, I just want to say that if you like the show and you want to support us, be sure to like, subscribe, share, follow. Any button that you can hit that interacts with us directly shows the algorithm that what we're doing people like, and it helps get our name out there and allows us to build this little family that we got going on. Because again, there's nothing I'd rather be doing than this. and I hope to continue doing it. So thank you to everyone who is already supporting us. But again, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, or leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening.
Basically, just become our online stalkers. And we'll love you for it.
Yeah, of course. And just a little teaser, if you are following us on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, keep an eye out because we might be doing a little bit of a merch giveaway soon. Something that I got a little bit planned in the background. So getting into the story, in the rolling hills of Chattahoochee County, New York, sits a structure that defies the visual stereotypes of a haunted house. Located at 3830 Miller Road in the town of Hinsdale, the building is a modest, white-framed farmhouse. Constructed in the mid-19th century, estimates place the foundation around 1853. So we're dealing with a very old building here already. Even if there are no documented deaths, like the stone tape theory or residual hauntings, there's something there for sure.
As an old house.
Yeah, that is an old building.
Generations worth of people have crossed through there.
Yeah. It features the narrow windows and steep gables, pretty typical of the era's rural architecture. The house sits on a shoulder of land where the wind from the valley hits the structure directly, often creating a natural acoustic chamber. To the casual observer in 1971, it was merely a fixer-upper with a scenic view. But to the Dandy family, well, it was the promise of a quiet life away from the burgeoning suburban sprawl of Buffalo.
Isn't it always? It's always the promise of the quiet new life they're seeking.
Not for the Smurls. They just tried to leave. They left a hurricane.
Well, yeah. So it was a new house was a promise of peace and fresh starts.
I mean, yeah, but it wasn't like, hey, let's go move, guys, and try to find something. It was like,
always how it is.
It's horrible.
No,
Hopefully we can survive.
It's always a family who's like down on their luck, whether financially or from ruin or whatever. And they're like, okay, this is our new opportunity. We're going to find peace here and everything will work out. And then the haunting begins.
Well, how does every true crime documentary go?
They were a perfectly happy family until they weren't. Negative.
See, literally. That's just how it goes.
Good shtick.
It would be kind of a shitty start to a story to be like, yeah, their life sucked. They had nothing going for them. Then they moved into this house and then they got haunted and had a book deal. Because then you're like, well, now hold on.
Yeah.
They had nothing, and then all of a sudden they bought this. Like, if that happened to the Amityville family, to the Lutzes, you'd be like, for sure this was a fucking scam. But no, they gotta have a little bit of a normal life before shit hits the fan. To understand why the Dandy family's experience in the 1970s became so legendary, one must look at the bones of the house itself. The history of the Hinsdale house, properly known as the McHone Dandy Farmhouse, is a timeline of rural expansion, isolation, and a series of tragedies that precede the 1971 haunting. And you'll know why it's called the McMahon Dandy Farmhouse in a second.
That's basically just I know the Dandies obviously live there at the time of the haunting.
I mean, that's not even really an official name. It's just the original builders and then the Dandies. Instead of just calling it the Hinsdale house because it is in Hinsdale. It's like, well, they're all the Hinsdale
house. There's a lot of houses. It's a whole town.
But honestly, colloquially and like in the paranormal circles, you're going to just hear it as the Hinsdale house. And that's what you're going to search when you go to stay there. So
it'd be really funny if you actually showed up at like a paranormal place and you're like, yeah, the Dandy Farm. And they're like, what?
They probably would at first.
Like in Hinsdale, and they go, oh, you're talking about the Hinsdale house? Yeah, I guess they were called the Dandies, weren't they?
Yeah, I'm not talking shit on anybody, but with the mainstream blow up of ghost hunting and paranormal stuff, I mean, we're into it now, of course, so we got affected by it. But yeah, I do feel like you might have some people that are like, oh, the Dandy family, what are you talking about? I just know this house is haunted. And it's like, yeah, they're the ones that wrote the book and reported it.
They're like the people who were haunted in it.
Just a little teaser, they might not have been the first to be haunted in it. The house was built around 1853 by the McMahon family during the mid-19th century period Western New York was transitioning from a rugged frontier into a structured architectural hub. The home was constructed in a type of Gothic revival or T-plan style. And I don't want to get too much into this because if anyone who's into architecture is listening, I'm sorry. But there apparently is a whole world of different styles that this building might fall under. So it might not be even what I said, the Gothic revival. I saw like 5 different people. There's fights over what this building actually is. But I'm not getting into that field. I'm sorry if I got it wrong and you have a different belief.
I'm just picturing a bunch of Ted Mosbys from How I Met Your Mother getting into a debate about what era or architectural influence this house has.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, people are being haunted.
I saw it get into such minute details that they were talking about how many points were on like the crevice or carapaces of the house. Like the very, like it was like that's what determines the different architecture styles.
Dang.
Yeah, so that's just a little tidbit of that.
There's a lot that goes into that, guys.
Right? The house was built using local timber and features a stone foundation. Its architecture, characterized by steep gables and narrow vertical windows, was designed to shed the heavy lake effect snow common to the region. Yeah.
We're familiar.
We know all about that. Especially this year.
Yeah.
In the 1850s, the house was significantly more isolated than it is today. The road it sits on, now Miller Road, was a rugged logging path. This isolation is a reoccurring theme in the home's history. For over 170 years, the residents were largely left to their own devices, far from the prying eyes of neighbors or law enforcement. Much of the home's dark history centers on a large tree that once stood on the property near the pond. Local lore, later amplified by the Warrens, suggests that in the 19th century, the land was used for vigilante justice.
Oh.
Batman. It was the Batcave.
I would love it if that was the case, but unfortunately, due to the time period, it might not be because we're in New York, but it was probably things like lynchings.
Having to do with racial stuff, yeah.
If the court didn't find somebody guilty and then a bunch of people determined, well, they should have been found guilty.
Oh, yeah. Not actual vigilante justice, for sure.
Not
this was
real justice, but like more vigilantes than justice bringers.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably more accurate of what happened.
While official town records are sparse, oral tradition in Cattaraugus County tells of a pregnant woman named Elizabeth who was allegedly hanged on the property for a crime she didn't commit.
Oof.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
I mean, even if she did commit it, you're going to hang her while she's pregnant? That's messed up.
People were fucked up. Humans have always been fucked up. And I agree that, we live in a pretty messed up time. But when you look back...
Oh, people used to be very archaic and barbaric.
It's like, no, we do have some things kind of figured out now that I'm not saying, we live in a utopia, but my God.
Game of Thrones isn't as far off as you think it is from actual history. Let's just put it that way.
Very much so. In paranormal circles, this is often cited as the original sin of the land. A traumagic. I like that word.
Traumatic, but also sort of magical.
I was going to have to cut that, but now I don't think I will.
Oh my God, we're coining that.
Traumagic. That's going to be a shirt. That's a great shirt.
It's like when
Traumagical.
Yeah, it's like, when you have depression or PTSD or something, but you also still have whimsy and the will to live.
Bitch, I'm traumatic.
Yeah, I'm traumagical.
Yeah, I'm traumagic. Oh my God. Anyways, the original sin of the land is a traumatic event that anchored negative energy to the soil long before the dandies arrived.
Yeah.
So pretty much like the catalyst for the residual haunting.
Yeah.
Between the 1900s and 1940s, the house cycled through several families. It gained a reputation among locals as the Cold House. This wasn't necessarily a reference to spirits, but to the fact that it was notoriously difficult to heat and felt damp even in the summer. So it was literally the cold house.
It was just a cold house. Even though it was built specifically to protect against like lake effect stuff.
Well, that's just the architecture. Like the architecture of those buildings of the time were, that's why it was built that way. Not necessarily that happened. Clearly something happened with this house where it didn't work.
It's just cold.
And damp.
And damp. Is it a catacomb?
The Hinsdale house saw its share of natural passings. In the early 20th century, it was common for the elderly to pass away at home or for children to succumb to illness like influenza within these walls. Some researchers have documented at least 3 natural deaths occurring in the upstairs bedrooms during the pre-World War II era. One of the most persistent historical deaths involves a reported suicide in the barn behind the house in the 1920s. Though the barn has since been renovated, investigators often point to this event as the catalyst for the Plaid Man apparition later seen by the Dandy children.
The Plaid Man.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Hat Man.
Well, I mean, it's always a man.
Yeah. Yeah, what was the Crooked Man?
The Crooked Man.
I'm like, what was the Conjuring one? That should have been, they could make a whole horror movie about the Crooked Man.
It almost had one.
Like, forget about the haunting, just the Crooked Man.
Yeah.
That thing was so scary.
That thing was fucked up. In the decades leading up to 1971, the house was often used as a rental property or a seasonal camp. Because it lacked modern amenities for many years, it saw a high turnover of residents. Locals from the town of Hinsdale recalled that the house often sat vacant for years at a time. And in local folklore, a house that sits empty is said to invite things in.
Festers.
Yeah.
Whatever's residual nearby will fester. And yeah, it's like almost like an open gateway at that point.
Yeah, just inviting things in. A lot of people say the Madison Seminary, that's a big thing for that because it sat abandoned in between all these owners. It just, so many things were invited into it. By the time Phil and Clara Dandy purchased the property in 1971, they were moving into a structure that had been largely ignored by the community. A house that had become a blank slate for the activity that was about to unfold. From a non-paranormal historical perspective, the land is situated on a specific geological formation. The soil in this part of New York is dense with limestone and shale. Historians note that the area was once a part of a massive prehistoric inland sea. That's pretty cool, yeah.
I mean, the Great Lakes are right there, so
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense if it was all originally one sea.
And then they all broke up.
Kind of dried up and broke up, and that's what we have left today is the Great Lakes.
Some theorists suggest that the history of the home isn't found in the people who lived there, but in the ground itself. The high mineral content combined with underground water veins from the nearby pond creates a natural battery. Whether this battery fuels spirits or simply creates electromagnetic fields that cause hallucinations remains the central debate of the Hinsdale House Haunting, and it will come up several times in this episode.
Ooh.
But I did want to give a little teaser of that before we get into it.
There's always some magnetic activity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like that's why a lot of the ghost tools are like nowadays measure electromagnetic fields or things to do with electricity or stuff like that.
Yeah.
When the Dandy family moved into the residence in July 1971, they were a large, active household. Understanding the family's structure is vital to understanding the contagion of the sightings, as the activity appeared to target different members in specific ways. The family consisted of Phil Dandy, the patriarch, a hardworking man who was initially the greatest skeptic of the household. Then there was Clara Dandy, later Clara Miller, the matriarch and primary chronicler of the events. Her detailed journals and later book, Echoes of a Haunting, serves as the primary source for the timeline of this haunting.
That sounds familiar.
Echoes of a Haunting?
Maybe they've like recently made it into a show and I've seen it on a streaming service. That just sounds very familiar, but I know I haven't read that book.
That's the house, by the way, too.
It looks like a typical farmhouse to me.
I mean, yeah. I think that's the like almost spookiest thing about it is that like a lot of these haunted houses like Amityville or some of the other ones you talk about almost have this like you look at it and you go, that's kind of
it's
freaky.
Like that kind of looks creepy.
You look at this house and you're like, that just looks like a farmhouse. Like that looks basic as hell.
Just looks like any old farmhouse.
Yeah.
They all look like that.
Yeah. So I think that's why like a lot of it is like, well, wow, yeah, if that could happen at that basic place.
Yeah, it's like they didn't even build it creepy.
Yeah.
Looks normal.
Then there were several children in the home as well. You have Michael, Beth, Laura, and Mary. The family was joined at various intervals by extended family and friends, including Clara's mother and a family friend named Michael, who would later become a witness to some of the more violent physical manifestations. The first month in the home was pretty peaceful. The Dandies spent their time painting, stripping old wallpaper, and clearing the overgrown brush from the perimeter. However, as documented by Clara, the quiet of the house began to feel less like peace and more like expectancy. The family dynamic shifted from one of collaborative renovation to one of individual isolation as family members began experiencing different hauntings that they were too afraid to share with one another. The activity in the Hinsdale house did not begin with a scream. It began with a footfall. Between August and October 1971, the activity was primarily acoustic. Phil and Clara reported the sound of a heavy object being dragged across the floor of the empty attic. The children frequently asked why the man upstairs was hammering late at night. Upon inspection, the attic was always empty, with dust layers undisturbed. Multiple family members reported hearing faint, tinny music resembling a music box or a distant radio playing from within the walls of the dining room as well. So mostly these first few things you have going on are a lot of like auditory things, which is interesting.
It almost makes me think, since the house was vacant for a while in between owners, and then they just moved in when this was starting, that maybe they had a squatter.
I mean, I could see that, especially in this like rural area.
Yeah.
People are just like, no, man, I've just lived in this house for so long, but fuck, someone bought it. I got it.
Yeah.
I could see that. I didn't even think about that either.
Could be a squatter. They're just trying to lay low until they can figure out their real escape plan to get out of there. They're like, okay, I'll just stay here and I'll be quiet and hopefully they won't come up here and find me and I'll be out in a few days and then it won't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked. I don't like thinking about that.
Yeah.
He's just up there pacing.
Maybe he has a music box or a radio. And he's like, I'll just keep it on really quiet.
By the winter of 1971, the phenomena transitioned from sound to sight. Clara and the children reported seeing a woman in a white dress wandering the tree line at the edge of the property. When Phil would go out to investigate, he would find no footprints, even in fresh snow. Fuck that again. And especially we've talked about the woman in white and how that's like an omen of something about to happen.
Yeah, it's almost like Mothman.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you see the woman in white doom is about to come.
Another common sighting at this time was a male figure dressed in a hunter's plaid shirt. He was often seen standing in the kitchen doorway. Unlike ghosts in popular media, the Dandies described him as looking entirely solid until he would step into a room and vanish. They would call him the Plaid Man. That's what we were talking about before. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I don't like that they're talking about how he's super physical, like looking entirely solid. You don't really hear that a lot.
No, usually it's that they look like a shadow or a distorted reflection or like a translucent figure of some sort. The fact that it's like, no, this looked like a solid real person and then they just, if they entered a different room, they'd vanish. That's freaky.
Yeah. The children would become the most vulnerable to the house shifts when the hauntings escalated. Laura reported a face that would begin watching her through the window despite her bedroom being on the second floor with no balcony or ledge.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't want nothing watching me while I'm sleeping.
And like, what, does the entire family have a case of sleep paralysis demons?
That is something we will bring up later in the episode.
I don't know how genetic or hereditary that type of disorder is.
I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into that. If you know, let us know.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of far-fetched for the entire family to experience it, though. And like, if they agreed on the name The Plaid Man, more than one person had to have had a moment seeing that.
I mean, the kids could have just seen it, or a kid, and said, hey, it's the Plaid Man. I see a Plaid Man.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Later on in a documented account often cited by investigators, one of the dandy's daughters was allegedly lifted several inches off her bed while sleeping. She woke up screaming, claiming hands were pulling her towards the ceiling. On top of all of this, scratches, often in groups of 3, began appearing on the children's arms and backs. In the medical context of the 1970s, Clara initially feared a skin condition or an allergic reaction to the old insulation, but the marks appeared instantaneously and were accompanied by a sensation of intense heat. While the woman in white and the plaid man seemed like residual spirits, a third entity emerged that Clara identified as something far more malevolent. She described it as a black mass or a tall, cowled figure. This entity was estimated at nearly 8 feet tall, and it didn't just block light, she said it seemed to absorb it. And it stood almost exclusively at the top of stairs, effectively guarding the bedrooms and preventing the family from moving freely at night. Phil Dandy's skepticism finally broke when he reportedly encountered this figure in the hallway. He attempted to confront it only to be met with a wall of cold, so intense it caused physical chest pain. From this point on, the family stopped trying to rationalize the events. In 1974, desperate for a solution, the Dandys contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Ghostbusters!
That's not what I was expecting.
I mean, that's basically who they were in the 70s.
Well, no, but every time I've done this, in every single episode, you've screamed, Ed!
Bathsheba!
So I was just waiting for that.
I didn't want to yell. Unlike Ed and Lorraine Warren, I get tired of screaming their names.
By this time, the Warrens were famous for their work in West Point and were just years away from the Amityville case. The Warrens arrived with a priest and a small film crew, and during a seance held in the living room, several notable events occurred. And again, when we go into these are mostly just firsthand accounts from the Warrens. There's not too much to back this up. The film is all theirs. They never really released any of this. Take it with a grain of salt. If you believe the Warrens, then you believe this. If you don't, then you're going to be like, this is a crock of shit. That's basically how it goes.
Well, my thing is, if you brought a film crew and you filmed stuff and then you caught stuff on camera, why wouldn't you release it? Why don't you want people to see the proof?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be a case of like giving them the benefit of the doubt. Back in the 70s, film might have been hard to really like just distribute like that.
Yeah.
So they might not have been able to store it properly or archive it properly. It might have just kind of gotten lost like in that process. Now, if it was all digital, I'd be giving them some shit. Because it's like, dude, just throw that on a flash drive and
like, for real. Keep your backup copy, but like sell that shit, or at least post it out there for people to see. Give it to the news, something.
But playing devil's advocate, I will say it probably was a little harder back then to make sure all this stuff was solid and kept in good condition.
Or if you wanted to make copies of the film you had, it was probably really expensive. Or it was just like, what if I don't trust you to get the copy done right and give me my film back?
The film could be ruined.
You're gonna destroy it or take it or something.
Exactly. But during the seance, apparently, thermometers brought by the crew reportedly dropped 20 degrees in seconds. And then a member of the circle of the seance was reportedly struck by an unseen force, leaving a large bruise on their shoulder. Lorraine Warren claimed that the house was a psychic vacuum that was pulling in spirits from the surrounding woods. She identified the land as the site of a historic injustice involving a hanging tree nearby, though historical records for this specific claim remain anecdotal.
And this already sounds a lot like the same
Premise of the parents.
It's like, oh, this house is just an open vat for energy because of all this history nearby in the woods, specifically the hanging tree where they hanged a woman that shouldn't have been hanged.
And it's like reading the history. Well, Bathsheba died of like a stroke.
Yeah.
This lady might not even exist.
This one doesn't even have a record. I'm just saying, Lorraine, this is your go-to story. And also, you guys always have a seance.
It's true. The first thing they're like, boom, let's talk to this bitch.
Do a seance.
I mean, I guess back then, though, we didn't really have the tools we have now to like communicate. So really, you walk in, the first thing you got to do is just try to reach out.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, next time we go ghost hunting, let's do a more official seance.
I'm down, yeah.
In one of the rooms, and we'll do our modern ghost hunting everywhere else.
No, I'm definitely down for that. Ed Warren famously told the Dandies that the house was not just haunted, but under siege. He advised that traditional house blessings might not work because the energy was tied to the geology of the land, specifically the high quartz content in the soil, which some believe record hauntings. Yeah, quartz and limestone have a very big, you could call it pseudoscience, but connection to stone tape theory.
Wow.
That's why the Paris catacombs are very interesting.
Okay, I didn't know this. I didn't know certain types of stone or crystal could like hold on to other energies. I knew that stones and crystals could give off certain energies or help protect against certain energies, but I didn't know that they could like attract certain energies too.
According to some circles, again.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
if you believe it, you believe it. If you don't, you don't.
It does make sense because if you already believe that crystals can grant you protection from things or grant you some power or that they emit some power in the form of energy and thoughts and all that, why wouldn't it make sense for them to also attract energy? It's the same way as us. We put out energy and we attract energy.
No, I mean, that whole thing makes sense to me.
I mean, yeah, it's science.
Again, if you believe in it.
It is science. I mean, stone, rock, crystal, it's all earth. Earth does contain, possess, emit, and attract energy.
And I mean, when you break that all down, we're all fucking stardust, so...
We're all stardust.
Yeah, so I mean, we're all giving off the same energy, the vibrations. We're all just leaving the same imprints.
Science is neat.
Yeah, it is neat. The Dandies... Almost dropped that. The Dandies fled the house in 1974. They did not have a new home lined up. They simply packed what they could and they left.
That doesn't sound too dandy to me. That was applause. That one was the do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That was applause again. There we go.
I probably won't even remember to put those sound effects into the actual program. And then it'll just be a moment of silence and they'll be like, what the fuck are they doing? That's applause. What is she talking about? Who the hell are you talking to?
What are you talking about? Who the hell are you talking to? I've tried other Cocos. This one's the best.
The Hinsdale house remained a source of trauma for the family for decades. Clara Dandy Miller spent years processing the events before finally publishing her account, which helped cement the house as a top 10 haunted location in the United States.
And of course, also probably cemented the idea that it was a hoax for fame and money all along.
I don't know about this one. This definitely doesn't give Amityville vibes when you read into it. Like, at least when it comes to reception. Like, people People
Okay.
who had, like, looked at Amityville look at that and they're like, dude, this is as obvious as day that people got money, people got paid.
I'm just
This
saying, I
came
feel like
years
every
later.
time there's a book deal, someone's like, oh, there it is.
Well, it depends on how quickly. You remember how quickly Amityville happened. It was like they bought the house and then 2 years later there was a book. Remember, the movie came out in like 79. The hauntings happened in 75.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember when we were first talking about that, and I'm like, yeah, I know Amityville. I've seen the old movie. I'm like, I don't think it was black and white old, but it was pretty old. And then you were like, yeah, it happened in 1975. And I was like, wait, the movie came out in like 1975. I was so confused.
Yeah, so everything moved pretty quickly, but she, again, spent a few years kind of processing everything before coming out with this.
Okay, that makes it more believable because it's like, okay, this is actually like your trauma memoir.
Yes, and in it too, she talks about how she turned to religion a lot to kind of help cope with what she experienced, which to me, even though I'm not a religious person, kind of like adds a tinge of realism to it because it's like, no, she had to find something to help her cope.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, she believed it that much.
I mean, yeah. If you got haunted bad enough, you just might start going to church too.
I mean, literally. Since the Dandies left, the house has seen several owners. From the 1980s to the 1990s, the house was used as a private residence, with owners reporting varying degrees of activity. Some claimed that the Plaid Man had returned, and others reported total silence. I think that's interesting. That's like one of the first times we've heard about like a haunting carrying over after the family left.
Yeah. That one, I was going to say, that's weird that it didn't follow the family like all the other hauntings. But that's also weird. I want to know how public some of this information was before those owners moved into the house after that.
Well, most of this information came out. Obviously, you have Ed and Lorraine Warren, but not many people were following them till Amityville, and then that was their big case. So unless you were like, I don't know what you'd call them, like you have a parrot head for Jimmy Buffett, you got a ghost head for the Warren followers at the time. Unless you were heavily into them, you probably wouldn't have gotten this information from them. So
I was gonna say,
Clara's
the fact that
book,
somebody else said that they saw the Plaid Man, I'm like, how would they have known? If they had known the family saw the Plaid Man, then that's one thing, because they could just be saying that. But if they didn't know that the family said that too, and they were describing the same thing, that's spooky as fuck.
I was just about to say, most of the information to the public comes from Clara's book, which came out in 1999, and those claims were made from the 80s to the 90s. Now, who knows when those claims were reported? I can't necessarily give you that exact information, because it could have been like, well, my grandma said it, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, it could be second to third to fourth hand. But according to the claims, they were made in the 80s and 90s before this book was published, which would have given the public the access to the knowledge of the haunting.
Yeah, that's another win for the... It's probably haunted.
From the 2000s to present day, the house was eventually purchased by paranormal researchers. It is currently owned by Daniel Claes, who has preserved the home as a research site. It is one of the few locations where the public can book overnight lockdowns. And again, we'll post a little link in our description for you guys to go down and visit the house if you'd wish. And sorry, Daniel, if you are watching and I butchered your last name. I'm terrible with names. When analyzing a case as high profile as Hinsdale, investigators look for patterns that suggest folklore building rather than objective phenomena. Several elements of the Dandy case raise questions for modern researchers. One of the most significant red flags is the timing of the public narrative. While the Dandy family lived in the house from 1971 to 1974, much of the detailed demonic imagery didn't reach the wider public until after the Amityville horror became a national phenomenon in the late 1970s. Skeptics argue that once a template for demonic farmhouse haunting was established in pop culture, earlier experiences, which may have just been simple house noises, were retroactively and reinterpreted to fit that more dramatic mold. That's something I could see with the case, if anything.
Yeah.
Is after Amityville comes out, everyone's like, well, shit, do you remember all that stuff that happened to us? And then when you're looking back on it, maybe you're seeing at it in a different lens.
It almost becomes like a confirmation bias or a law of attraction where you find what you're looking for.
Exactly.
If you weren't looking for it before, you might not have seen it that way.
I mean, I feel like I'm being chased down the stairs all the time when I have to turn off the basement lights. If I then in 20 years was looking back and thinking this house was haunted, I would be like, that's was what something.
That feeling was.
But no, that's just paranoia and the human experience.
Yeah, that's a pretty normal thing. It's like at the end of the day, we're all still a little afraid of the dark because our caveman ancestors didn't have defenses after dark and they couldn't see what was coming towards them.
Exactly.
But it could be because of ghosts.
It's always because of ghosts. Another slight issue with this case is, despite the involvement of the Warrens, who often traveled with photographers, there is a notable lack of high-quality photographic or audio evidence from the 1970s. There's also no medical records of the scratches or photographs of the 3 clawed scratches on the children. And the levitation, well, this account relies entirely on the memory of the children and Clara, years after the fact. In the field of investigative skepticism, anecdotal evidence is considered the lowest form of proof because human memory is highly fallible and prone to suggestion. And the last kind of red flag that we're going to bring up here is the contagion effect. In a large family living in a stressful, isolated environment, a phenomenon known as mass psychogenic illness or shared delusion can occur. If a dominant figure like a parent expresses a strong belief that the house is haunted, the children, seeking to make sense of their environment, will begin to see and hear things that confirm that belief. This creates a feedback loop where every creak of the floorboards is interpreted as a footstep. And that one, I think, is it shows up in all of our cases, I feel like, about these.
It does. I feel like the top 3 theories for most hauntings are, yes, it was a haunting, no, it was a hoax, or no, it was some sort of shared psychosis or exponential stress or hallucination or delusion. Like, it was some psychological phenomenon that happened to everyone. And those are usually like the top 3 votes that people are putting in to these things. But it does vary, like, depending on what case you're looking at. One of those 3 bars will raise real high and the other ones might not. Like this one, I don't think it was a hoax by any means, but I'm not sure if it was real or if it was kind of a case of like, well, you guys are isolated in this farmhouse that has kind of a sketchy history. You aren't near town or resources. It has a history of everybody having to kind of fend for themselves because they live there. This family's probably no different. I mean, the 70s were as hard a time as any. Like, I don't know. It's not like we had DoorDash back then where they could just Instacart groceries from the nearest city. Like, they were probably still fending for themselves quite a bit away from the rest of town. So that one does kind of track here. Some of the hauntings, though, it was like, no, I don't think they're all delusional. So, like, it does kind of, it varies. It's always kind of the same top 3 theories, but who knows which of these theories is going to have the strongest hold over which case until you hear it.
Well, I do have a few more theories into it because the contagion effect is more or less, I put it in as a red flag for the case, basically being like, that might be a reason why I don't believe in this. Just because it comes up so often and because this kind of fits the mold of it, I'm like, well, maybe that's an issue of what's going on here. But when it comes to theories of what caused the haunting, well, we can get into that now.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah,
I have a few of those here. The first one is the infrasound or the fear frequency. The geography of we've talked about infrasound a little bit before.
Yeah, but I've never heard it called the fear frequency.
No, that's just a little fluff because we're in the haunting season now.
I love that, though.
The geography of the Hinsdale house makes it a prime candidate for infrasound. These are sound waves below the threshold of human hearing, typically below 20 hertz. Wind howling through the valley and hitting the specific angles of the farmhouse could create standing waves of infrasound. And research by Vic Tandy and others have shown that infrasound causes distinct physical symptoms, a sense of unresolved dread, chills, and most importantly, vibration of the fluid in the human eye, which can cause gray blobs or shadow figures to appear in your peripheral vision.
Oh, snap. Oh, that might have just done it for me.
You're like, I don't even, you can just stop.
We already talked about how this is and this is such a specific geologic position that they've already talked about the minerals there causing different like electromagnetic functions and all that. Like, infrasound doesn't seem like a far stretch from if there's already differing electromagnetic activity there. Why wouldn't infrasound also be a common occurrence? You're in the hills, in the valleys, in the woods. You've got a lot of different landscapes around you. You're isolated in this little house.
I will say,
it tracks.
Take infrasound with a grain of salt, because while it is technically true, the effects of it are still debated highly to this day. So who knows? That itself could be its own mystery video, truly.
Yeah. Do you actually see dark spots in your vision from infrasound?
Yeah, like there's a lot of debate for that stuff, but that is very interesting. And I think kind of if that is true, that explains almost everything they experienced.
Yeah. Except the scratches.
Yes. But that could have been like psychosis. Fucking
I mean,
one of them.
yeah, they're scratching themselves and just not even kind of realizing it.
Another theory I have here is carbon monoxide and old insulation. In the early 1970s, many old farmhouses had faulty heating systems and poor ventilation. Carbon monoxide poisoning is a classic ghost maker. Long-term, low-level exposure can cause auditory and visual hallucinations, feelings of being watched or pressure on the chest, and physical marks left on the skin, such as unexplained bruising or rashes due to oxygen deprivation in the blood. Furthermore, the dandies were stripping old wallpaper and disturbing the attic, which likely contained lead paint dust and black mold, both of which are a neurotoxic and can cause cognitive decline and vivid nightmares.
And we already know that the insulation and structure of the house wasn't the best when they got it.
So again, that one is compelling too.
Oh, snap, you guys. I mean, it already looked bad for them that they don't really have proof in any respect. A lot of hauntings at least have one photo or a ton of journals from multiple people, not just one girl's memoir. There's usually at least some sort of stack of evidence, maybe not proof, but evidence. These guys really don't have anything except Clara's word against ours.
Yeah.
So I guess, and the Warrens say a little bit, but again,
you believe them or you don't.
Yeah, it's just their word against yours, and there's nothing else there. So that already does not put me in the big believer camp.
We have two more theories. Our third theory is the geology or the stone tape theory. While often used by paranormal researchers, the stone tape theory has a scientific root in residual magnetism. The Hinsdale area is rich in quartz and limestone. Quartz is piezoelectric. It can hold and discharge an electric charge. Skeptics suggest that the activity might have just been the house's interaction with the Earth's natural electromagnetic field, which can cause sensitive individuals to feel dizzy or watched without any spirits being present.
Oh my gosh, this is blowing my mind right now. I'm gonna go. You don't think I'm gonna take one? I'm gonna go take one of my quartz crystals and go try to like get a bunch of static electricity on it or something, and then carry it around and see if I can shock you with it.
I'll be upstairs. You'll be downstairs, and I'll just hear like a. What was that?
Nothing. It's just I dropped my quartz.
You come up and your hair is just straight up.
It was my quartz.
That one's interesting too. The actual scientific reasoning behind stone tape theory.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we know we've talked about stone tape theory and residual energies and stuff, but I didn't know why it was called stone tape. It's because the stone literally acts like tape, like sticky tape. So
or
if the
like
energy touches it, it holds on to it. A tape recorder, it holds on to it. Electricity like a shock wave, it holds on to it until something else touches it. It can pass it on.
And then it passes on the energy. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, that's cool. You guys, this is like a Science is Neat episode. Last time we did history. This time it's science. It's earth science, baby.
Really?
My favorite.
So our last theory is sleep paralysis and hypnagogia. The account of the daughter being lifted or pinned to the bed is a textbook description of sleep paralysis. During this state, the body is paralyzed to prevent it from acting out dreams, but the mind is awake. This often results in the old hag syndrome, which is self-explanatory. You see an old hag, and sometimes it's reported that she's pressing on your chest. So a lot of people who feel that sensation often associate it with either like a demonic figure or the old hag.
Okay.
There's also the shadow man, who is often seen standing in your doorway or in the corner of the room, somewhat out of sight. And a lot of people report the sensation of floating or being pulled out of bed. So when you combine all of those, honestly, I feel like that is a pretty compelling answer. But before we give our answers, let's give a little bit of a wrap up. The Hinsdale house remains a fascinating case study in how a simple rural life can descend into a nightmare. Whether the black mass was a demonic entity or a trick of infrasound hitting a tired mother's eyes, the impact on the Dandy family was real. They lost their home and their sense of security. Today, the house stands as a monument to the power of the quiet, a place where the thin line between the physical world and the world of the mind seems to disappear entirely. So, do you think the Hinsdale house was haunted?
I think there's probably plenty of residual energy there, but that's it.
You don't think the demon, do you think that stuff was more or less caused by environmental factors when they saw the shadow man, the stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of things. I think that one of the kids probably did have some sleep paralysis issues. I think maybe they were all suffering a little bit of environmental factors from the old house itself, maybe a little bit from the earthly environment around the house, and as well as the contagion factor, where it's like once two different people in the house were saying things that were similar enough, everyone else starts believing it and feeling it and looking for it too.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that happen with all kinds of stuff. It's not always something creepy or haunting. It's just little beliefs. Like it could just come down to like what you eat in your household. You believe certain foods are bad because mom and dad don't eat them. But then you grow up and try it for yourself and you're like, this is delicious. Why didn't mom and dad eat this? Like, I thought they said it was bad. And it became a core belief of yours because you believe mom and dad when you're a kid. And it can go both ways, where like if both of your kids are saying the same thing and you really believe them, you're gonna maybe start to believe what they think too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a mixture of a bunch of factors there. But I don't think that they personally were being haunted by a demon or by the plaid or shadow man.
I think they might have I think the plaid man, if anything, I think is something they saw. And that was just a residual, that was a repeated residual haunting, because they said they would watch it walk into rooms.
Yeah.
It was probably like either the house had been renovated, maybe the layout had changed, and it literally is just walking a path of whatever that dude did. And now it's going through walls because when it was alive, there was a door there.
Yeah, and that's why it's disappearing.
Yeah. I think that one definitely, and that one was the repeated sighting. So
yeah,
I'm like,
and that was the one that got me earlier, where I was like, oh shoot, if other people saw that, and how would they have known the family saw it? That might be something.
That to me is probably one of the real cases of they might have seen something because of the
plaid
residual.
man is like the most likely thing out of anything they experienced, I think, to be a real haunting. But everything else is just either a little bit of residual energy from the past, or just all those environmental and psychological factors, kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that piling together.
I agree with you almost 100%. I think it's a mix of all of those theories, but I do think that out of every haunted house we've covered so far, this one does have the most compelling residual haunting. Like, I think if we were to go there, and we will go there eventually, I do have a little bit of chills thinking about going into that house, because I do feel that a lot of energy is there and is able to show itself.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm a skeptic when I'm in the chair.
Yeah. You don't feel anything going to the house now? You're confident?
Yeah,
I'd
like
go there,
right now,
everything.
I'm like, we're gonna get there and it's gonna be like, oh, it's a quaint house. Like it's a farmhouse. How cute. We're gonna stay the night here. And then we'll get in the ghostly mood and start doing our investigations, and I'll be like, oh, what was that?
Someone's going to hear the word plaid on the spirit box, and you're going to be like,
Yeah.
nope, we're out.
Exactly.
We're out.
So like that's all it takes for me to go from 100% skeptic to 100% believer.
I want us to remember this for when we investigate. I'll have to clip this with a reaction of her at the house.
Here in this chair, I don't think they were haunted. I think
Meanwhile,
it might be a semi-sad and spooky place, but they are not haunted. And then we're gonna go there. We're gonna leave, and I'm gonna go, that place is haunted as fuck.
that's it for the mystery then. We agree that this place is probably residually haunted, but again, nothing manifesting in the sense of what you'd imagine as a ghost or a demon.
Yeah, not like Lorraine Warren said, something far darker than a typical haunting. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think the hanging tree was a thing there either.
No, I think all of that fucking history is just a long stretch.
I think they're just grasping at straws and making shit up.
So with that, we'll move on to our date night debrief, which if it's the first time you're joining us, this is a section of the show where we'll pause and take a break from the mystery and spend this time to learn a little bit about each other by asking some questions.
We had the mystery. Now it's time for our date.
Yes, exactly. So my question for tonight, to follow in the theme that we've had in the past few episodes with Disney princesses, Pixar movies, what is your Hogwarts house?
Okay, so this is actually crazy because my whole life I thought that I was Ravenclaw, and then as an adult I like finally went online and took that test on Pottermore or whatever, and it said I was Gryffindor. And I'm like, Gryffindor? I feel like I am not brave or bold at all. I'm like very insecure and introvert. I'll put on a play, but I'm not putting myself out there. I'll be a character.
I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but
and maybe I'm just wrong.
No, you remind me a lot of Hermione.
I guess
where it's
so.
like
she is a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
She's not a Ravenclaw.
And she has that same thing where like she won't necessarily, like she almost seems like an awkward kid and maybe like an introvert, like to where she wouldn't necessarily go out of her way of making all of these friends, be super brave or bold. But there are times where like she's like, it's Leviosa, not Leviosa. Like she will inject herself
because she knows
she's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that actually probably was me in school too. I loved Hermione. She was my idol as a kid, so I could see that.
Yeah, I see you with a lot of traits of, especially movie Hermione. Book Hermione is kind of unhinged.
Book Hermione is insane. Okay, she's a little bit. Yeah, unhinged. That's the perfect word. It's like somebody needs to keep her in check. But no, movie Hermione, I definitely feel like I resonate with.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, my whole life I identified with Ravenclaw, and then it was like 2 years ago, I think some internet site was like, you are Gryffindor.
I think it's your edgy Victorian side that pushes you towards Ravenclaw.
Probably, yes. The literature major in me is like, obviously you are a Ravenclaw, my dear. And then there's the part of me who's like, I should do stand-up because I'm funny.
Exactly. That's Gryffindor.
What about you? I know your Hogwarts house, but I want to know your story if you always thought that was your Hogwarts house.
I mean, I never really thought about it too much. I just like Hufflepuff because I like badgers, and I think it's really funny that their animal is a badger.
are Hufflepuff, though. The only exception, if you were going to be anything but Hufflepuff, it would be Slytherin.
I was about to say, my Pottermore is Slytherin.
Yeah. If you were going to be anything other than Hufflepuff, it would be Slytherin. And I know that's funny because it's like, those two don't seem like you could have the same person be flexible for those two houses.
I could see it. Cedric Diggory could have definitely been a Slytherin. I could see that for sure. No, like, honestly, when you break that down, I could see that.
I think you could be either because you're like this wholesome nerd and you are not confrontational. You're not antisocial, but not necessarily super social either. Like, you're a Hufflepuff. But then at the same time, it's like, you're like really cunning. You're like too smart sometimes to a point where it's like, that's not like being clever and witty. That's like, are you devious? Are you scheming?
What are you up to?
Yeah, it's like, who taught you to think that way?
How did you learn this?
How did this thought process unwind for you? How did you get there?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Pottermore says I'm Slytherin, but I have gotten both in Pottermore before.
Yeah.
But I've also gotten a Griffin. If you take it enough times, you'll get.
Yeah.
You can manipulate it. But
what about in the game? Do you get to choose a house when you? What is it called? The Harry Potter
Hogwarts
game?
Legacy?
Yeah,
I was
Legacy.
Slytherin.
You were Slytherin.
I was Slytherin.
Did you get to choose, or did the hat choose for you?
I think the hat chooses for you based on a quiz, if I remember correctly. But you can then choose at the end, like if you don't want to go with whatever hat is, you get the choice. Because in order to fully 100% the game, you have to replay it in all of the houses to get the achievements. Because each house, you can't go into the other one's common area. And
but
stuff
there's
happens.
Certain things, so, okay. Man, that's a big game then.
Yeah. That was a great game. If you had not played Hogwarts Legacy, yeah, it was. So many people shit on it, I feel like, because the story was different from Harry Potter, but that's specifically why I loved it.
Well, and like, that's the point. There's already been video games about the movies and the books of Harry Potter.
Exactly.
This one is the open world, create your own Harry Potter.
It was just, I really enjoyed it. Could it have been better? Sure. But for what it was, that was the best damn Harry Potter game we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it. We have Gryffindor and Slytherin. That's kind of funny.
That is kind of funny. I mean, all I have to say is that my father will hear about this.
Potter.
Sure.
Well, we'll move on to free talk, which the only things I personally want to bring up is that if you know of any paranormal locations or just kind of spooky or mysterious locations that are near you or in your state, let us know, because we're trying to build a list of pretty much any area or spot that we can check out that has a conspiracy, a ghost story, Bigfoot, Mothman, something tied to it that we can make an actual video of us being there and maybe interviewing some locals, just checking out the actual spots where some of these legends happened. We just really want to pretty much get a database built in the background for us to fly our little mothership over to wherever we want to invade next. So just let us know. Leave a comment, send us an email, give us a call. I'm just trying to build a really big repertoire of spaces that we can look at.
Yeah, and speaking of Bigfoot and aliens, I don't know if y'all have heard, but Ohio has had a crazy 2 weeks here.
Oh yeah, we had a meteor.
First, there was a bunch of Bigfoot sightings in the same week, but in 3 different neighboring counties. Several different people were reporting Bigfoot sightings. And I'm not just talking people calling in and being like, yo, it's Bigfoot. Confused people yeah, there's some sort of creature. I don't know if it's a bear. They've seen Bigfoot and they don't know what it is. It's not just hardcore people, believer people like us who are calling in and trying to get on the news. It's been legitimate sightings that people have named the Bigfoot sightings. And then we had tornadoes.
Yeah.
And then we had a 65-degree and sunny morning that very quickly turned into a 20-degree blizzard. And then the next day, there was a meteor that hit.
I also heard something.
And that was on St. Patty's Day. So then, of course, there were jokes that the leprechauns have landed and all sorts of things like that.
I also heard something. I didn't even look into it too much. So if you know more, let us know about a rare exotic bird was seen in Ohio for the first time in hundreds of years or something.
Oh yeah, a bird they like thought was extinct.
Yeah, and that all happened within the span of like a week.
Yeah, all within 10 days in Ohio.
So if you're wondering why we made this podcast and what drew us to the unknown and the mysterious and the weird,
We grew up here.
It's Ohio.
In case you weren't familiar, Ohio is the weird state.
Oh, 100%.
Florida might be the crazy state, but we're the weird state.
I think that's all I have for Free Talk. You have anything else?
Nope, I don't think so.
If you want to book us for your wedding for 2027, get on it now.
Oh yeah, because we're already booked for 2026.
Yep, get on it. I'm sure all of you are just actively looking for a wedding photographer while listening to this.
Everyone knows that paranormal and mystery listeners are mostly engaged couples.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, and be sure to come back every week for a brand new mystery and, well, another date night.
We hope you all enjoyed today's mystery and the story, the history of it. And don't forget, you can email us your own episode ideas, mysterydatepodcast@gmail.com, or you can just send us little love letters. You can DM us on social media at Mystery Date Podcast. Go to our website, mysterydatepodcast.com, leave a voice message on there, or call the mystery hotline at 216-770-4881. And your story might just make it on the show.
And also, be sure to share this podcast with your friends or even your enemies. We're not going to judge, and we're not too picky. We'll take whatever we can, all right? No, but for real, if you guys want to support the show, I always say it. We say it at the beginning. We say it at the end. Share, subscribe, whatever button you can hit that interacts with us directly helps us and makes us do a little happy dance, and we appreciate it so much. I know I preach about it all the time, but being able to do this makes me happier than ever. And if I could make this something that was full time or expand this into something beyond just us sitting here, like with our investigations, that would mean the world to both me and I'm sure my wife to be able to spend more time with each other. So thank you so much for all of everyone who does listen to us every week and for adding us to your routine. I know you got thousands of other things you could be listening to, but choosing to listen to us means so much, and I appreciate it. So please, whatever you can to support us, it means so much. And also, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of those audio platforms, be sure to leave a rating. I'm not going to pressure you, but I'd love it if it was 5 stars.
And if it's not, we will find you.
Liam Neeson style.
We don't have any money, but we do have skills.
Not many.
Very specific set of skills, but they will make us a nightmare for people like you who don't leave us 5 stars.
No, but for real, if you like the show, leave us 5 stars. That very much helps us a lot. So I think that's pretty much all for the plugs. So that's all. Be safe and have a great rest of your day or night.
And remember,
Every good mystery deserves a date. Bye.